In the early 1900s, an indigenous chieftain from Benguet, Philippines, challenged the government to defend his ancestral land. This case would change the future of indigenous land rights. Mateo Cariño, an Iloy leader, and his ancestors had lived on and cultivated their land for generations. But under Spanish colonial law, land ownership required a formal title, something indigenous peoples did not have. When the insular government of the Philippine Islands under American rule refused to recognize his claim, arguing the land belonged to the state, Cariño sued to assert his ownership. The case reached the U.S. Supreme Court in 1909. The court ruled that indigenous land, occupied and used since time immemorial, was legally owned, even without a Spanish title. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes stated that Spain had not automatically taken ownership of all lands, and that long-standing indigenous possession should be recognized. This ruling established the Doctrine of Native Title, the legal principle that indigenous peoples have inherent land rights based on long-standing possession and use, even without formal legal documents. Cariño v. Insular government affirmed that indigenous land rights existed before colonial rule, and continued even without government recognition. The legal basis of this doctrine is the principle that sovereignty does not automatically extinguish pre-existing land rights unless explicitly taken away by law. Cariño v. Insular government was more than just a case. It was a landmark decision that proved indigenous land rights do not come from colonial grants, but from the indigenous people's continuous possession of their lands. The doctrine of native title remains a foundation for protecting ancestral domain worldwide.